My biggest takeaway from the All-Star game that took place on Wednesday, July 19th, was fatigue on the MLS side. And this is something that it looked like I'm gonna have to talk a lot on in the off season or just later on this season in later monologues. You have players that have been balancing regular season, MLS regular season with CCL, with US Open Cup. Now you got All Star festivities and Leagues Cup. It's just too much for the players. And that was reflected last night in Washington, D.C. I am not disappointed in any MLS players and how they how they played last night. Because I understand. I'm not going to pull off a Wayne Rooney and say the guys were nervous. What is there to be nervous about? You were playing an Arsenal team who's this All-Star game for Arsenal was their preseason. It wasn't friendly. It was an exhibition. Now, those two words, friendly and exhibition, was a main topic of discussion between Taylor Twellman and Zivlin last night, during the first half at least, because honestly, I stopped watching after the first half. I lost interest after the first half. I'm just going to be honest. So during the first half, that was the main topic of discussion. And I want to explain to you, some of you who, you're average American sports fan and, you're still confused about a lot of soccer terminology. It's okay, because I get confused about a lot of soccer terminology too. The difference between an exhibition and a friendly. A friendly is not really a friendly. An exhibition is more so a friendly. You see, a friendly is a major serious competition. Like a couple of years ago, when the national team played against Ghana, that was the first American soccer friendly that I ever watched, because that was around the same time where the chant, the "I believe we can win" chant became popular, and I was seeing it throughout all the commercials. So that was one of the main reasons why that chant got my attention. Some of you say it's corny. I don't think it's corny because it's a deeper message that I'm not going to get into. But yeah, that chant, that got me to watch my first ever U.S. national team friendly, which was against Ghana. And I think this was in 2014, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. So I was thinking, okay, friendly. So when I watched the friendly between U.S. and Ghana, I was like, this doesn't look like just a random regular exhibition. Both of these teams are playing really hard. This was the national team squad that had Josie Altidore and Tim Howard. And I was like, if this is supposed to be a friendly, why are these teams going hard? Like, why are they playing hard? Like they're playing like they're trying to win something, like a trophy or something. And that's when I realized that a friendly is not a friendly. An exhibition is a friendly. What we saw last night in the MLS All-Star game, that was an exhibition. A friendly is like an agreement between two countries to play against each other for bragging rights. So, anyhow, if you're still confused, just remember this: a friendly is not a friendly. An exhibition is a friendly. And if you're still confused, just ask Ricky Pooge, because he looked like the friendliest MLS player on the field last night, because he was smiling a lot. And contrary to what Wayne Rooney told the media, Ricky Pooge did not look nervous. As a matter of fact, the Cali boys did not look nervous at all. Ricky Pooge, Dene Buenga, and Espinoza. The Cali boys represented their respective teams well last night, at least in the first half, because I didn't watch the second half. I really lost interest. And the main reason why I lost interest is because the MLS players were tired. And because of their fatigue, you see, when it comes to fatigue, it's not only physical, it's also mental. Because of the combination of the physical and the mental fatigue, it just wasn't interesting. Arsenal, on the other hand, Arsenal, they look like a team that's on a mission. You see, for Arsenal, this match wasn't only about impressing their U.S. supporters in Washington, D.C. I believe that Arsenal is still upset that Manchester City won the Premier League title, had the most points over them this previous season. And they look like a team that is focused on getting what they believe that they deserve. You see, the thing that I learned about a major professional team like Arsenal is, number one, they're mature. A mature major professional team does not take any opponent for granted. If this was an immature team, they wouldn't have even scored. They wouldn't have even tried to score. They would have played hard. I mean, the speed, the way they're able to cover ground so quickly. There's a couple times in the first half where the MLS player was running with the ball, charging towards the goalie. And then all of a sudden, it's just a swarm of yellow jerseys just surround him so quickly. That was so impressive. That's the mentality. The mentality they had is, we don't care what league you play in. We don't care how much or what your salary is like. We don't care what country you're in. When we step on the field against you, we are going to beat you, and we don't care if it's preseason. That's the mentality that Arsenal has. And I hope that at least 2 or 3 MLS teams took some notes on that last night and can apply it in the second half of the season. Now, when it comes to the future of the All-Star game, I don't think that Major League Soccer players should play in the exhibition. I think the exhibition should be reserved for MLS Next Pro players. Now, when it comes to MLS players, they should just be limited to the skills. The skills challenges was good. As a matter of fact, I thought that goalie wars was going to be amongst MLS goalies, That would have been more interesting, in my opinion. The skill portion of the All-Star festivities should be for MLS players. Because, skills challenge is like a circus. It's the sports version of a circus. And that's every American league. The three NBA, for example, the 3-point shooting contest, the slam dunk contest. That's like a circus. That's the sports version of a circus. Like, yeah, it matters if you win or lose, but your legacy, well, nowadays, your legacy won't really be determined based on how well you perform in a slam dunk contest. Once upon a time ago, it did. But the way players and the league's treated now, when your best players like LeBron James don't want to participate in the slam dunk contest, it's just watered down now. It's just basically a circus. And that's the same. And even with NFL, their All-Star festivities. NFL's All-Star festivities it's a joke. It really is. Players don't take it serious. Coaches don't take it serious. Owners don't take it serious. It's basically a circus. I think the flag football competition can be really a real major thing. But when you have when you have players, coaches, and owners that's not really taking it serious, I mean, it's a circus. So that's what MLS skills festivities should be treated as, a circus. You have your best players, let's see who can, do well in the goalie challenge. You get the best goalkeeper from New England Revolution. You have them go against the best goalkeeper from LAFC. You have them go at it. And then when it comes to the All-Star competition now, this is when it gets serious. This shouldn't be treated as an exhibition, but this should be treated as a friendly. And remember what I told you earlier, a friendly is not a friendly. And if you're confused about that, just ask Ricky Pooge. He can explain it better than me. Now, the friendly should consist of MLS Next Pro going against the top players from TST, the soccer tournament. Or it can be MLS Next Pro against Wrexham. I'm sure. Now I don't know what division Wrexham is, but I'm sure it's lower than the English champion. They're on a lower level than English Champion League. I think MLS Next Pro versus Wrexham in 2024, that will be very interesting. Both leagues are about on the same level. And what MLS wants Next Pro to be? MLS doesn't want Next Pro just to be viewed as a developmental league. But MLS wants Next Pro to be a league where players can get recruited straight out of Next Pro into Europe, where players don't have to play for Next Pro, then they go play for an MLS team, and then they get recruited by a European team. MLS would rather that Next Pro be a league where players can get recruited straight out of Next Pro. And that will help the MLS brand in general. If players can get recruited straight out of Next Pro, then you won't have teams like Cincinnati and Atlanta and Dallas worrying about losing their star players in the middle of the season. Because you also have some additional star players in the developmental league who's just as good as the players in the major league to get recruited and get instant playing time in the summertime, right in time for English Premier League and La Liga season. As a matter of fact, the All-Star Friendly can be a place where MLS Next Pro players get recruited and sign their contract right on the dotted line, right at the end of the friendly. Like you have, like high school football, for example. You have players who make commitments to college football teams during the Under Armour All-American game. That same thing, that what the All-Star game can be for MLS Next Pro players. So that's something that we should keep in mind. Now, some people are saying that MLS should bring back the East-West format. That would be cool, but let it be amongst MLS Next Pro players, because the major MLS players, they have a lot to balance. You have international friendlies. You have national team duties that you have to balance, along with MLS season, US Open Cup, CCL, now Leagues Cup. And speaking of US Open Cup, some teams won't get a rest at all. They won't catch a break at all. Can you imagine a team like Cincinnati winning the Leagues Cup, playing in the Leagues Cup final, and then a couple of days later, they got to get ready for US Open Cup? Because US Open Cup is like 4 or 5 days separated from the last Leagues Cup match. It's going to be too much. Can you imagine a team like Miami, if they make it to the Leagues Cup final, and then a couple days later, they got to get ready for a US Open Cup? That's going to be too much. So speaking of Miami, last year, LAFC was the face of Major League Soccer last summer. This summer, International Miami is the face of Major League Soccer. And as a matter of fact, this summer is the rebirth of International Miami, where International Miami is no longer the laughing stock of American soccer. Because you best believe, these past couple of years, they absolutely have been the laughing stock of American soccer. Where, to the point where the USL team, the Miami FC, was more respectable than International Miami CF. Now, some of you may be wondering, why is there so many media releases in Spanish? Why is International Miami tweeting so much in Spanish? This is America. I understand we have a lot of Spanish fans, but we still have to try to appeal to America, because this is America. Well, all I can say is expect more of it and get used to it. Because the greatest soccer player in the world, his major language is Spanish. And this is one thing that we have to remember as MLS fans, MLS followers. Beggars cannot be choosers. We asked MLS to bring in a major star player. And MLS went to Lionel Messi and asked him to play in this league. Therefore, we have to cater to his needs to make him as comfortable as possible, which is something that PSG didn't do. How can you suspend a legend, a guy who put in the amount of work for all those years. See, we got to make sure, we got to assure Lionel Messi that that kind of nonsense will not go on in this country. Because one thing about sports culture in this country, we don't only respect legends, we honor legends. Therefore, we have to cater to his needs to make sure he's as comfortable as possible. And here's another thing. MLS is not an American league. Major League Soccer is a global league. As a result of that, we had to be bilingual. We had to be willing to learn more languages. We had to be willing to learn Spanish. Now, speaking of Spanish, this is something that we're probably going to see a lot of, if you're subscribed to Apple TV, a lot of the commercials you see, if not this week, starting next month at least, we're going to see a lot of commercials that's just per Spanish. Yes, even the English broadcasts. We might start seeing a lot of commercials where the people are just speaking nothing but Spanish. And it's something that we got to get used to. So, you and myself included, we have to find some way to understand Spanish. Whether it's downloading the Duolingo app and learning Spanish, or a Google Translator, it's just something that we have to get used to. At least through 2026. I don't know what this country is going to look like. The soccer world is going to look like in this country after 2026. I'm hoping that this momentum will keep going and that this is not something that's just a fluke, a gimmick, where we're all acting like we're interested in soccer. And then come January 2027, we're completely done. We're going back to living life how we were living back in 2015. I hope that's not the case. The Spanish language is very important. We're bridging the gap with Mexico. You see, some of you may be against this Leagues Cup, and you're questioning what's the purpose of this. The purpose of this Leagues Cup is sustainability for both leagues, from both sides. Mexico, Liga Mex struggled tremendously during the COVID pandemic. COVID hurt Liga Mex so badly that they had to stop the pro rail system. So financially, Mexico has been struggling. So they're approaching the Leagues Cup for financial sustainability. MLS, on the other hand, they're trying to grow their brand. They're trying to grow their popularity. And the only way they'll be able to do this is with a merger with Mexico. Now, you may be thinking, well, wasn't MLS also affected by the COVID pandemic? Yes, they were. But not as bad as Mexico. As a matter of fact, MLS have eventually overtaken, they surpassed Mexico when it comes to market value. MLS is more valuable than Mexico in terms of market value, which means MLS is wealthier than Liga MX. So, Leagues Cup for Liga MX, financial gain, financial sustainability, and through this Leagues Cup, they'll probably be able to bring back Pro Rail. either next year or 2025 or 2026. Maybe. We'll see. As for MLS, even though MLS is not financially struggling as Liga MX, they're still struggling on visibility, notoriety, promotion point of view, where you have people who are still more interested in NFL, NBA, MLB, and yes, NHL to a certain degree is still more popular than Major League Soccer. I know studies suggest that MLS has taken over NHL. But right now, I still think MLS have a few more years to go before we can comfortably say that MLS is more popular than NHL. I just don't see that right now. But after 2026, I'll say like in 2029, 2030, we can have this conversation again. But MLS is close now. It's close with NHL and MLB. But it's not there yet. And we all know why it's not there yet. MLS still lacks, let me think of the right word to say, an intimate linear partner. Fox is not an intimate linear partner. And I talked about Fox a lot. I'm not going to talk too much about them again in this monologue. But they are not an intimate linear partner. Apple TV is an intimate linear partner. They're an intimate streaming partner. And if MLS had their version of an Apple TV in the linear world, NHL and Major League Baseball will be in big trouble today. That's the only thing that's stopping. That has MLS lacking behind Major League Baseball and NHL. The lack of an intimate linear partner that will promote MLS during the months of June and July. Intimately. And yes, other months too, but the main reason I say June and July because during June and July, there's no NBA, there's no NFL, there's no NHL. That's why I mainly say June and July, but yes, other months are important too. But maybe the Leagues Cup can change that. As MLS and Liga MX merge during these 2 months, maybe you have a network like an ESPN that's just watching and they're taking notes. Because one thing ESPN is aware of is they know that more Mexicans in the USA are into soccer than Americans. ESPN is aware of that. TNT is aware of that. NBC is aware of that. These linear networks are aware of that. And as a result of this Leagues Cup, will you have more Mexicans saying, Mexicans that live in America now, they're saying, even though I'm an Atlas fan, I live in Houston. I spend more time in Houston than I spend in Guadalajara. Maybe because I spend more time in Houston, let me check out what this Houston Dynamo team is all about. Yeah, my allegiance is towards Atlas or Guadalajara. But now I'm an American citizen. Let's see how I can support Houston now that I'm a Houston resident. Because there's still a lot of Mexicans that live in America that don't watch MLS at all. But this Leagues Cup is getting ready to change that, because when they see the Mexican team, their local team, the community, the city that they grew up in, the local team that they grew up watching, playing against an MLS team, that's going to give MLS the much needed exposure. And if MLS performs well, they could win over some fans. Now, we have to, we MLS supporters, we cannot ignore the importance of the Latinos in America. I still remember the match in 2022 when 30,000 fans showed up at Soldier Field in Chicago just to see Chicharito of LA Galaxy. That was mind-blowing to me, because I didn't know the amount of Latinos or Mexican Americans in Chicago that really liked soccer. That game where Chicharito showed up in Chicago, it made me realize the power that the Latinos have to make Major League Soccer popular. And it's going to be that group of people is what's going to carry Major League Soccer. Major League Soccer will never become big without the Latinos. Major League Soccer will never grow. It will never continue to grow without them. So that's another reason why this Leagues Cup is very important. And Major League Soccer is aware of that. Major League Soccer is highly aware of that, by the way. There's a reason why Hector Herrera is in Houston. There's a reason why LAFC is not even thinking about getting rid of Carlos Vela. They're going to let Carlos Vela leave on his own terms. There's a reason why LA Galaxy is still angry about the Chicharito injury in the US Open Cup. If you don't think they're still angry, I'm telling you right now, they are still angry. Because Chicharito is a guy that the Mexicans wanted to see in the Leagues Cup. That's the number one guy they wanted to see. And they won't be able to see him. The Latinos, the Mexican Americans, they matter. They are very important when it comes to the growth of Major League Soccer. They are extremely important. But here's another catch. Here's another thing to think about. The Central Americans. Now, I don't know much about Central America, and I don't know if they really have a close relationship with Liga MX. I just know based on the map, they're pretty close. But let's not forget about them, because they have a decent populace in America. And don't be surprised one day if some Central American teams become and get an invitation to join the Leagues Cup. It probably won't be in 2024, but maybe 2025, 2026. And you know what? It could be 2024 too, because I don't know the kind of conversations that MLS owners have with Don Garber. I don't know. But just know, but one thing I do know is that the league is aware about the importance of the Latinos and the Mexican Americans. Chicago definitely know their importance. Now, lastly, I'll close on this. I'm really, I really like what I'm seeing in the summer transfer window. There's multiple teams that are more active this year than there was in 2022 and 2021. And I really like it. I like what New York City is doing. Of course, everybody likes what Miami's doing. So, yes, I like what Miami's doing. I really like what New York City is doing. Even Colorado made some moves. I like Orlando bringing back Junior Urso. Welcome back, Junior Urso. Welcome back. Welcome back, Emmanuel Reynoso. Even though you've been around for a while, but you're gone from most of the first half of the season. Welcome back, Emmanuel Reynoso. Welcome back, Chicho Arango. Even though I didn't like what happened causing you to leave LAFC, it's good that you're back in Major League Soccer. Salt Lake City is going to need you, especially if you qualify for the CCC next year. But speaking on LAFC, I just want to remind everybody, I just want to remind you, the listener, do not sleep on Los Angeles Football Club. I know they've been really quiet, and they probably won't get another Garrett Bale type of signing this year. Or maybe they will. But one thing I do know is don't sleep on Los Angeles Football Club. We think they're quiet, but they're not quiet. Now, I don't have any sources. A lot of people talking about the Chucky Lozano. I don't know if that's true or false, if he's really coming or not. But one thing I know is don't sleep on the Los Angeles Football Club. Just don't sleep on them. Continue to be aware. Continue to be alert. Check their Twitter page every day, at least once a day. Don't sleep on them. And as for New York City FC, don't think that New York City FC is done making moves. Do not think that New York City FC is done making moves. There's something I do want to say about New York City FC, but I'm going to save it for another monologue. I'm going to save it for another monologue because I don't think New York City has fully realized their importance when it comes to soccer in America. They kind of remind me of Chicago a little bit. That's still another team that I don't think they realize their importance for soccer in America, along with Houston. You know, San Jose is figuring it out. They're starting to figure it out, which is good. But I just don't think New York City and Chicago get it yet. But I'm going to talk about New York City again on another monologue. Just don't think that they're done making moves.